Hey, Econ class, we're going to start chapter 11 here. Chapter 11 is a really dense chapter. There's probably going to be multiple videos for this, and so for this one, we're just going to discuss the first topic in the chapter, which is all about classical economics. So this doesn't cover all of pages 262 to 267, but it covers the aspects of classical economics. The next video will deal with the credit market, or as I'm going to call it, the loanable funds market. So let's discuss some of the assumptions of classical economics. What makes something classical economics? Well, some of the more prominent classical economists you could consider to be like Adam Smith or David Ricardo or Say, which is what we're going to talk about. And all of these guys and all classical economists sort of abide by the same motto, the same life thing, which is the same life motto, which is laissez-faire, or literally it's French for let do, which means hands off, leave the economy alone and it will get back to normal. It's this idea of equilibrium and that the economy in its natural state will do what it's supposed to do without the urging of government. So as I mentioned in class, classical economics is often contrasted with like Keynesian economics, and as if there's like a choice, like a red pill and a blue pill. Classical economics and Keynesian economics exist on a spectrum of wide possibilities of what you can believe. It's not a choice between the two, as some people might pose it to be. However, much like in a presidential election, you don't have a spectrum of options. You do have one to choose eventually, so you may lean a particular way here. So some of the assumptions of the classical model can be derived from Say's law. And Say's law makes sense. It says supply creates its own demand. And what this means is that just given an economy, a particular good, if it's produced, it will create its own demand. And now this makes sense for goods like Care Bears or something like that. There's no need for that, but supply creates its own demand for Care Bears or Webkins or whatever the new thing is in a couple years when this video is a few years old. But this is really relevant when we talk about the wage market, where people are the supply. So supply creates its own demands. The number of workers creates the demand for workers, and therefore wages should be determined by what is out there, the number of people that are being supplied to the labor force. This would cause, if you let it be, if you let all interventions exist out, if you got rid of all interventions in the labor market, then you would have a lower wage, and that supply and demand would adjust, and you would end up having an equilibrium, but it would probably be lower than the minimum wage, as we've previously discussed. So Say's law is one of the fundamental aspects of classical economics. Some of the other things the book addresses are that pure competition exists. This is probably not 100% true that pure competition exists. My ability to create an airport, for example, isn't purely competitive. I have to abide by the regulations provided by the government to our economy for that. I can't just create my own taxi business. I have to get a license in New York City and that kind of thing. Another thing it assumes is that wages and prices are flexible, and this is surely true within a market for like gasoline, where you see the prices be flexible like from day to day, but wages on the other hand are negotiated often in advance. So perhaps this isn't always true. These are all just assumptions, and if we assume these things, then the classical model makes sense. Another one was that people are motivated by self-interest. This makes sense. I am making this video right now because I want to keep teaching AP Economics because it's in my own self-interest to do so rather than find a different job. However, people aren't always motivated by self-interest. Sometimes people just act. And so this is an idea that is contrasted with Keynes. Keynes comes up with an idea. Keynes refutes this. And he calls something else. He says that sometimes people just act. Sometimes people just given a choice don't make the best choice, but they just act. And thus he calls those the animal spirits. I call this the pigeon effect. When you run at a group of pigeons, some of them don't see you running, but they fly away, and so they just fly away because their neighbors are flying away. We tend to do that. We just do things because other people do it. In addition, the last one is that people aren't fooled by money illusion, which means that people understand relative prices. The example I gave in class was that my wife goes shopping and she comes back and I ask her how much she spent. She said she spent $100, and that's an outrageous amount to spend on money. But then she says, "But wait! I only spent $100 when it really cost $400." Now that's money illusion. Like that $100 is relative to like what she saved $300, but the point is that she did spend money, and so that's being fooled by money illusion. People are fooled by that all the time. So these are aspects of the classical model, and we're going to contrast this with the Keynesian model in a little bit. So next up we have the loanable funds market.